Hi there, it's Carol with Carol B Crafts. I'm here today with card number 3 in my Varied Vases online card class. Check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com to see what current classes I'm offering. This particular class will be available through August 19th, 2018. If you're watching this after that, I'm sure I'll have something that you'll be interested in, so check out that website. Today we'll be using the Varied Vases stamps. Now it comes as a bundle. We won't be using the punch today, but the stamps are awesome. If you buy the stamps, you're going to want the punch. So this is the card that we're doing, and it is very bright and cheery. It says, birthday wishes, hoping your day blooms with happiness. And we actually use only 4 inks, even though there's a lot of color there. We're using 4 inks. We're using the Tranquil Tide to do the leaves and the outlines of the flowers, Flirty Flamingo, Poppy Parade, and Calypso Coral. Now we're going to be using about half of the stamps. We won't be using any vases, but the flowers, I think we're going to use just about every flower there is, which is fun. And I have them on my stamp apparatus, so I suggest that you use a stamp positioner like your stamp apparatus or another one if you have one. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. Get much richer, truer colors if you do use a stamp positioner. So this is the kit that we will be using, and you can see that it has a crumb cake card base. So we'll go ahead and fold that in half. I like to match up the corners first before I commit to my crease, just in case I have to make some adjustments. And so here we go. There's our crease. We can pretty much put this together. I think the most time-consuming thing is stamping the flowers and doing the coloring, but that's also the most fun thing. So here, if you don't have the kit, I'll give you the dimensions as we go along so you can still participate and you don't have to feel left out. So this is just a regular crumb cake card base, folded in half. The DSP that we have it's Tranquil something or other. I'll put the name on the screen. I don't know, Tranquil Impressions, I think is what it's called. This is the back of the green. It's going to go on front of our crumb cake, but it's not going to be the usual scenario. It will meet on the edges, or it should meet just about. If not, it'll be just a hairline difference. And then you're going to want 1/8 of an inch at the top and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. So that's how that's going to work. Kind of flush on the sides and then 1/8 of an inch top and bottom when we put that on. And I'll tell you the size of that is 5 3/8 by 4. 5 3/8 by 4. Then we have these beautiful Poppy Parade cardstock. That is going to go there. Then we have some crumb cake, and then we have our Whisper White. I give you 2. You only need 1 for our stamping. So let me give you the dimensions for that. The Poppy is 5 1/4 by 3. 5 1/4 by 3. The crumb cake is 5 1/8 by 2 3/4. 5 1/8 by 2 3/4. And it's when we put it on, there'll be more space at the top than on the sides. So there'll be just like a 1/16 of an inch here, but 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. I don't know, I guess I was just in the mood that day when I designed this card. And then once it's stamped, our image is going to go here. And it looks like it's let me check the sizes here. So we have 2 1/4 by 5. I just had to check that because it wasn't looking right, but that's right. So that's going to go on top of the crumb cake once it's stamped. And then the inside sentiment is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2, and then the Whisper White is 4 by 3 1/4, and that's going to go on the inside of our card like that. So we'll be stamping on these 2 pieces here, and on our crumb cake. So everything else we can kind of just set aside for now. Inside our envelope is where we'll find our twine, but we don't need that right now, so we'll set that aside as well. Now you have your extra one if you need it, but if you don't need it, that's fine. You can use it for another card. So I'm going to bring in my stamp apparatus. I have all my stamps here on the back, and then I'm going to use this early espresso just as to keep this flat, to keep it flat. And then I'll use this kind of as a pattern. And I have my paper here, so I'll move my, I wanted to tell you, if you didn't watch my first two videos, and of course these are trying to kiss, I'm using the rubber mat from the Big Shot embossing mats on page 221 of the annual catalog. I like to have a little bit of lift so I don't have to push as hard to get a good solid image. And then I like the rubber because it kind of keeps this from sliding around. But if you don't have that, I found that you could use the thin die adapter underneath. It's about the same width, but it does kind of like to slide around, so you have to be kind of careful with that. So just a little tip there for you to make life easier. Now I'm going to be sure to keep these babies apart because they love each other and they love to kiss and smack. Okay, so I'm going to find the first stamp that we're going to do is the middle stamp. I'll make this a little bit more level, so I stamp level here. Now I think it would be better if when we did card number 2, you had a piece of 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of clear window sheet, and so I just cut the window sheet down to this size, and I use that as we did in card number 2 to position our stamps. So let's go ahead and get our first stamp, which is the big one, the biggest one. It's almost kind of like a bushy flower, this one right here, and we're going to put that in the center. I will put it on my plastic, and I want it to be in the center. Let me make sure I can see the center. And I want it, how far from the top? About a little more than 1/8 of an inch, but not too much more. So when I have it where I want it, I can pick it up, remove the plastic. We always have to remember to remove the plastic. Get our tranquil tied, and we'll get started. Okay, next up is the 2 flower stamp, this one here, and we're going to put it on our plastic. You don't have to use the plastic. I just find it easier to position, and it keeps it from sticking to the paper and pulling your paper up when you pull your flap away. Okay, so we want this, the top of this is about halfway where the middle of that is, and then you want it close but not too close. When you have it where you want it, pick it up. Whoops, I forgot to take the plastic off. I'm sure you will do that too, because it's hard to see that plastic. If you do, just take your wipe and wipe it, and then dry it. Good as new. Oh, we probably want to put something here so that we don't get ink on our... Oops! I did the same thing in the other video. Let's put something underneath there, and we don't want anything this big. Let me cut some of this off. We just need a small piece, not even that big of a piece. Okay, I am going to slide this underneath, and that will protect my pad underneath. Gee, I can't believe, well, yeah, I can believe I forgot that, because it's very typical of me. This is real stamping here. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the next stamp, and that would be the tall one with lots of little flowers, and it's going to go right next to the one we just stamped, but not higher than the middle. And I didn't use my plastic, but I think it's going to be okay. Now the next stamps that we have, these are actually separate. There's a stem, and then there's two individual. So we have to do the stems first and then the individual flowers. So we'll get the stem, which is this one, and we're just going to lay it here. I'm actually think it's better to stamp the flowers first and then do the stem. And so we have the one that looks kind of like a rose. We'll go ahead and put it right there. I'm going to move this so that there's more room. Keep it away from that one. And it's kind of like right next to these. Now we will end up stamping off a little bit, so don't worry about that. And ink it up. Now we have to clean it off before we move it. And then we're just going to move it kind of, and I'll need another piece of, just a little piece here to go on the sides, because it's going to stamp off kind of like right there. And now we're going to do the stems. Now we'll get our stem and place it where we think that it needs to be, so that it looks normal, like the flower is. I think this is another time when this is good to have this plastic, as you can stand it up on there and move it around. I think that's good. So it would kind of curve that way. This one's going to kind of curve this way. Okay, now we're going to head back the other direction. This time we're going to do, whoops, keep them apart. This time we're going to do some tulips. We'll do the outline of the tulip. It's going to go kind of just below this little, right here, right beside it, and kind of below it. And then the next one is going to go kind of like right beside it. Now we need our stem again, because our stem is going to be here next to the flower. Next we'll do the longer stem with multi flowers, like this one right here. It's going to go next to the turn it in the right direction next to, not too close. Okay, just about right there. Next are going to be the other flower. We have the little rosy flower here. We're going to have more like just a plain flower there. And we'll have one that's kind of right here, kind of in between these two pieces here. And then this one is going to go over here. And it's going to be a little bit off as well. Not much, just a tiny bit. Now we're going to do some of the coloring of the flowers. So basically we're just going to match up the coordinating, and this is a good time to use my plastic to really line these up. Now this with the multi, there's like 4 in a row right here, 3 big ones and then 1 small one. That's kind of how you can tell. And just line those up. And then when you think you've got it lined up perfectly, pick it up and take the plastic off. It's still moved, but it still looks good. Okay, so now we're done with our tranquil tide. The center is Calypso Coral. And then we have the center of this, the two flowers. And then that's going to be in Flirty Flamingo. And then we're going to move on to the next one. We have the one with the multi-flowers. That one's going to be Poppy Parade. Okay, so making progress here. This is a little, it's fun, but it's also a little time consuming. So you want to do this when you have to make a quick card. This is for a leisurely afternoon of stamping. And while we have this one out, we'll just go ahead and do the one over here. Is also going to be in a Poppy Parade. Now this one's a little bit off, but that's okay, because when you're using the stamps like this, if it's a little off, it still looks okay. It almost looks like it was meant to be that way. So next up we have, we'll do these over here. These are going to be Calypso Coral. And you actually use the same solid stamp for this flower and that flower. And it's all symmetrical, so you don't have to figure out which direction you're going to place it. And change inks. Calypso Coral. And we'll need this little sheet over here again. And since we have this out, we'll go ahead and do these flowers over here because they are the same. Even though they look different, they use the same center. There's one, and then we're going to do the next one here. And the last ones are the little tulips. And these are in Flirty Flamingo. Okay, so I apologize. My camera battery died, and it usually beeps, but it didn't beep this time, so I don't know what the problem is. So what you missed was I was going to do the leaves, and then I realized I hadn't done these two stems. So I did those two stems with the stem like we did over here, and then I started to do the leaves. I started with the contour leaf. So we're going to pick up there where I left off, and we're going to put that there and pick that up. We're using Tranquil Tide ink. Now this same, oh no, somebody's using a saw, my neighbor I think. This same leaf is going to be used on the little tulips, so we'll do those. And then we're going to do them here on this little flower. And then on these last little two flowers here. Now we're going to do the flowers for these three, do the leaves for these three flowers, and that is going to be the little solid leaf, this little leaf flower here, and we'll just do a couple here. And then we want a couple here on the big one, the big center flower. And then lastly, we'll do a couple here on this flower. Okay, so that's the that's our focal point for the front. Now we'll do the inside sentiment, which is hoping your day blooms with happiness. So we'll get our piece of Whisper White that is 4 by 3 1/4, and we'll just get our Hope Your Day is, what does it say? Hope your day is blooms with happiness. That's the stamp right here. We'll get our plastic back out. And we want to put that just about right there. Remove the plastic, and that is stamped in Poppy Parade, so I'll have to put my Tranquil Tide away. Okay, so we have our Hoping Your Day blooms with happiness. Okay, so now we're going to use the flower that has, looks like a rose. We're just going to put the one that has the outline, we're going to put that there. And it's going to be in the Poppy Parade as well. So now we going to do the part that is to fill it in. Okay, we are done with our stamping. So we're going to bring everything in here. Looks like my envelope got a little decorated. That's the wrong envelope. Okay, that's the one from my kit. Okay, so we have our card base, and we know we're going to put our DSP on there, and we're going to leave 1/8 of an inch at top and bottom with the sides somewhat flush. Now we'll build our image. Well, actually, you know, we forgot to stamp birthday wishes, so I'm gonna have to get the wishes and stamp that. So now we're gonna do the birthday wishes, and we'll get our birthday wishes stamp ready. We'll go ahead and put this in place so we can kind of know where we need to stamp our birthday wishes. And when you're happy with it, just pick up the stamp and remove the plastic. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this. Keep this in place though, don't move that. Take our Poppy Parade. Now we can continue, now that we have our birthday wishes in place. And well, we know that's going to go there, so we'll go ahead and do this. And then this is going to go on top of our Poppy Parade. Okay, before we put this on the Poppy Parade, we're going to put we have inside here, we have some twine, some, what is this called? Linen thread. And then we have some of the nature's twine. So the linen thread is going to go around, I think, like 3 times. It's going to go across just underneath here where the white is. So we'll put some snail here. You can see I had to remove I put this on before I put the twine on, and yeah, the linen thread. Okay, so I'm going to put it so that I know it's going to go right below here. And I have about 1.5 inches there, holding it in place. I'll push that into the adhesive, bring it around, push it in the adhesive. We want it above the birthday wishes and kind of covering up the part of where the white meets the crumb cake. Okay, so we have a little bit left over. We can trim that with our scissors. We can find them. Let me make sure that's still tight around the front. It looks like it is. We'll kind of bunch it up. We don't want it to be too separated. And now we can put it on our Poppy Parade. And I'm actually going to put some snail over the twine, or the thread, the linen thread. Put some more snail on there to hold it in place. And again, it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch here and about 1/16 on the sides. Now it's ready to go on our card front, and we're going to put it on with mini dimensionals. Okay, so I have my mini dimensionals on, and that might be a bit much. I'm not sure if that's overkill. Now this is going to go on the front of our card. It looks like there's like 1/2 inch up at the top, between a little more than 1/2 inch from the Poppy Parade to the top of the there. There's more down here, so you just kind of put it where you like it. And I am going to use this. This is a long one. I'm just going to put it over the dimensionals and kind of hang it over until I get it where I want it. Hang it above. And that looks good right there. Now we need to do the inside sentiment. One thing left to do, and that's our bow. So we're just going to slip it underneath here and do a little loop, wrap it around, and pull it tight, and then make it where we want it and trim it. We could probably bring this one down here so it looks kind of like that. Okay, can't get too crazy with it here now. Alright, so we have our 2 little cards, and I hope you enjoyed making this card with me. This is card number 3 in my Varied Vases online class, and you can join me for card number 4. Check out my website, www.carolbcrafts.com, to see what classes I'm offering now. Thanks for watching. Bye.